I did not want to do track and field. I really want to become a soccer player like anybody else. But I was able to do track and field and excel in the sport at the age of 15. And within about 18 months, I was the new Dutch junior 200-meter gold medalist champion. And I realized, like, hey, I have a talent in something.
Welcome to Pulse One-on-One. And on this particular episode, we have a I don't know how to put it, a very talented young man. He's made Ghana so proud, like almost everywhere. When we are talking about Ghanaians that have achieved a feat for us, he's one of them. My name is Gideon Nicholas Day, and my guest is Akwasi Frimpong. He is Ghana's first skeleton Olympian, and he's done amazing things. He's here to tell us his story, some of the things that's been doing so far, and even coming to Ghana again, what has pushed him to come back. Let me even start with, if 8 years old you, right, I met you, and I opened your palm, and I said, oh, I see prosperity in you, be one of the best athletes the world would ever get, what would you have said?
I would have never guessed that.
Okay.
I would have never guessed that. And to be frank, this week I met someone who knows me that I was a very young child. Madame Sewa, she's from the Bachona, JHS school. And she said, I know you from a little child in the neighborhood where you live. One thing you love was food. Another thing too is that you did not even know how to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or you did not even know how to say your ABC. So if she had to put a bet on me about 30 years ago, what I would become now, she wouldn't have thought I would be the one. So God works in miraculous ways.
God works in miraculous ways. But was that in Kumasi, here seeing you grow up, everything?
Yep, I grew up in Kumasi. I'm a runabout.
Oh, so that's nice. Tell us, do you remember those fond memories? When you were 8 years in Kumasi with your grandmother and everything?
Yeah, I still remember a lot of them. Some of them is my grandmother Minka, Efia Minka. She is the one that took care of me when I was about 2, 3 years old, and my mother has left to the Netherlands to prepare for a better future. Myself, my brother Kofi. I remember always, I almost say, I was always with her. I was really, really close to her, going to church with her. But I also remember her doing a lot for us, for me, my brother Kofi, and 8 other cousins. We slept on like 4 by 5 meter room, concrete rooms, sharing, blankets. It's hot in Ghana, so you don't even need it sometimes. Water will be falling from the ceiling of Grandma Minka. And yet she did everything that she could, selling her kente cloth. The only time that we had, a full bottle of Coca-Cola or full egg was on Christmas Day. I'm sure a lot of Ghanaians know that.
Yeah.
So I remember a lot of time with her, but most important, I remember how resilient she was and how she did everything that she could to give us a better future.
And that's inspiring. Anyway, then your mom comes to pick you, then you join her there. Tell us about, I'm not sure if you remember that time as well, getting there. Akolana Kwabrochia, and I think it's a big deal for even the neighborhood and everybody. But going there, what was the experience like for you, even your expectation moving there?
Let's go back to when she came back. So my mother left when I was about 2, 3 years old, somewhere around 1989 is when she left. I was born in 86. So about 2, 3 years old is when she left for a better future. So when she left, I remember that was because I was so much with my grandmother. Here when you were born, your parents, they have to go find a job. They are away. Grandmothers, they do a lot for us. So I was a lot more with my grandmother than with my parents. I do remember when she did come back for us in 1995, I was 8 years old. And I remember that I did not want to go because you are used to a certain environment that you feel safe, your friends, your family. So I remember they had to chase me with Insuo. They had to throw water on me.
Maybe now people want to run away and go
there.
Yeah,
I wanted to run back to home, back to my grandmother's, home. So I was not really a fan of traveling and leaving my grandmother and my environment. But obviously my mother knew better and what was good for us.
Right. So when you got there, how was the environment? Was it easy to socialize and get into meet new people and even going to school at that young age?
We moved around January, in 1995, so it was very cold in the Netherlands. So that was the first experience. And then obviously meeting new friends, going to new schools. It was a different environment, learning the Dutch language. It was different for us, but we had to continue to push through because my parents did everything that they could to bring us there. So we did the best that we could with what we had.
All right. Tell us about your sports. When did it start? I think I read somewhere that you saw a friend did something. I'm not too sure about that story, but tell us how you discovered your love for sports and how it started.
My parents did not have the money to get us in what you call organized sports, going to a club or anything like that. They will continuously working 2-3 jobs to pay lawyers to keep us in the country because we were actually undocumented immigrants. We traveled with her from Ghana to the Netherlands, but because we have a different last name, my name is Frimpong, which is obviously we know in Ghana, we have to explain it. We're preaching to the choir here, but kind of explain to you that I have the last name of my mother's brother. My brother
Oh,
has the
yeah.
last name of my father's grandmother. So in Europe, it's not the same name, so they don't think it's my mother. So long story short, we were illegal immigrants for like 13 years long. And so that was very hard for us. But particularly, I remember that because they couldn't pay for organized sports, when I went to school, I had what you call PE, Athletics Day, physical education, and we were doing some track and field. And my coach, Sammy Monsos, he saw me. I was about 15 years old then. He saw me running. My team, we were running a relay race. My team had dropped the baton. We are child, so we can pick it up. And I kind of chased, about 20, 40 meters. I kind of closed that gap and we won. So my coach recruited me to do track and field. And I wasn't a fan of that. I thought, I am Ricardia, that's not a sport. I was able to do track and field and excel in the sport at the age of 15. And within about 18 months, I was the new Dutch junior 200-meter gold medalist champion. And so outside of being undocumented immigrant, going through the stress, the depression, and all those different things, I found something. So I started to focus a little bit on that.
Interesting. You mentioned the challenges that you faced being an illegal immigrant. I'm sure, I don't know the current status now when it comes to the authorities and the things that they do to people who are there illegally, but specifics, what were some of the challenges that you had to go through? Because I don't know if maybe when you maybe don't have your IDs or something, you have to be running away from the police anytime you saw them. How was it like and how did they affect you mentally?
As a child, it was really a big deal for me, right? And so what I realized still, what I remember from being a child is that when you go to school, you need like what you call social security number, which kind of identifies who you are. I did not have that. So a lot of schools did not really want to accept me, right? Because you needed to have these ID and all these different things. When you go to like the basic school, they don't really check that too much. But when you start going to like junior high, high school, you have to start doing internships. So now you need your IDs. That was one thing that was frustrating that we didn't have that. And I had to lie continuously to the teachers that my mother has lost my passport. So I had to keep telling them that story. You could only tell it for so long. Then I also remember that as you are walking around neighborhoods just on the street, when you see the police guy, white, red, and blue is the Dutch one. And you see them driving around, I said, well, Yemo show set, now they're going to kind of pick you up, right? But also the fact that we had to go to court with my parents like almost every 3 months. We have to show up in court, to keep us there longer and kind of, renew the application to stay longer. And, every time they will send us like an orange letter to my parents that we have to leave. So we have to go back to Ghana, but my mother can stay, but the kids have to go. And so it was very difficult for us as a child growing up, and you couldn't find a job or anything to help your parents. So we felt like we lived in an isolation. You had all the opportunities around you, but you could not make use of the opportunity because you were an illegal immigrant or undocumented immigrant, as they call it now.
How has that shaped your mentality when it comes to racism, it comes to immigration, even people moving out? Because a lot of Ghanaians, if they get opportunity, will run away somewhere. So yeah, and most people, even illegally, they would like to go. How has that shaped your perception and how are you championing these things when it comes to solving some of these issues?
You know what, I think it's easy. Sometimes people say it's easy for you to say because so they are Kobroche. So it's easy for you to kind of say these things. But I believe, sir, for us, it was very, very difficult. For 13 years long, as a child from the age of 8, just imagine that for 13 years long, what type of headaches, what type of frustration, depression, anxiety that it gives you as a child, that you cannot even travel with your teammates in track and field. I was the best of my team, but I couldn't travel with them to Spain for trainings camp, or the fact that I was Dutch junior champion and they wanted me to represent the Netherlands globally. I couldn't go. It's really hard for a child at that age. But my perspectiveness has always been that there's a lot possible in Ghana. And also that's also my messaging through my foundation, right? There is a lot here that you can do. So that has kind of changed a little bit, that yes, you can be in Holland or in America, anything like that. But if you don't have the right mindset, it doesn't matter if you leave from Ghana to the Netherlands or to America. If your mindset has not changed, if you're not strong enough that way, it doesn't matter. So I believe that there's a lot of opportunities in Ghana. It's about how do you cultivate that mindset and teach people about what it means to work hard, not give up, come with a comfort zone, don't be lazy, don't sit home, right? If you're doing that here, it doesn't matter where you go.
Yeah.
So
I mean, they say Ghanaians are one of the most hardworking people when they go out. So at least you can brag with that. Anyway, let's talk about you moving from sprinting then to skeleton. How was that transition like?
yeah, I moved from sprinting because in 2012 I was part of the Netherlands 4x100 meter relay team for the London Olympic Games. So obviously I was part of the really really good team. Unfortunately, due to an injury, a tendon injury, I wasn't able to make the final team to go to London. So I didn't make that team. Then I was recruited right after I didn't make the team. Right at the finish, and I was recruited by the Netherlands bobsled team, where obviously they like to use people that have sprinting background that are fast for the first 50 meters because you're pushing a sled that's almost 600 pounds. It's very heavy, so you need some fast sprinters to do that. So through that recruitment, I tried the sport, but then I was what you call the brakeman. The brakeman are people in the back to push the sled, and then you have the pilot who drives the sled. Well, the driver is the one that is able to qualify for the Olympics. You as a push athlete is just an addition to it. So we had 2 teams for the Netherlands, but only one qualified for the 2014 Russia Sochi Olympic Games. So the team that I was part of was the B team, did not qualify. So I became what you call second alternate. I have to stay home and wait to get a phone call. If somebody gets injured, I get put into it. That did not happen. Which is a good thing. At the same time, we always make the joke that maybe I should have used my African voodoo. My mother will kill me if I said that. But that did not happen, which is a good thing that nobody got injured. But that also meant that I did not make my dream come true again for the second time. So then I finished school. I was doing some other stuff. I had my own business in America. And then I realized that I still really want to push my Olympic dream. So I tried a sport called skeleton, where it's an individual person going head first, 80, 90 miles per hour. And I started the federation for Ghana around 2017.
Okay. I think I saw one comment that said, how do you guys push it? You just lie on it and it just moves, or I mean, that was one of the comments that really also struck me that, okay, there's more to it. Maybe if you want to, Ghana, it's not really a big thing in Ghana as well.
Yes.
So maybe you want to explain it.
Hey, born rate.
Yeah. It's not really a big thing for us as well.
Yes, of course.
How do we understand this game, and then how are we also looking at picking more Ghanaians to be interested in some of these sports?
Absolutely. I think not only you asked the question, I think even in the West, people sometimes think we just lie on a sled and there's nothing happening.
That's why it looked like
it looks very, we make it look smoothly. Well, I'm still learning to make it look smoothly because I'm still learning, getting better with every run that I have. We call it run descending down. But the sled, it's almost about, let's say 35 kilos, about 70 pounds. It's very heavy. You have to push it about 50 meters long. There's this thing called rails that the sled goes in. And so for the first 50 meters, it's in the sled and you're pushing it for 50 meters. That's why you need sprinters. But it's bent over, pushing the sled is very difficult. Then you jump on it. The sled is about 1.5 meters, about this big. You lay on it. And then the groove that you're in stops. Now you have to navigate the sled down through ice channels. The way we do that is you use your knee and shoulders to steer. So opposite knee, opposite shoulders, so it looks like this. That's what we're doing. But you can't see it because I'm pretty strong for a Ghanaian. I'm not a typical skeleton athlete, so I have a lot of power. So if you push too much, it's like very light, and it's coming very fast at you. Anyone that drives a car has to remember that we are going about 70 to 90 miles per hour. That's about 120 to 140 kilometers per hour. So every cone is coming to you very fast. So your brain, you have to switch it very fast. One little mistake and you're gone, right? So you have to steer correctly. If you don't steer correctly, one must go up. It's force. One must go up. It must come down. So if you don't steer to stay in the middles, you're hitting walls, you're falling. And we use our eyes sometimes to steer the sled. Sometimes I can just lay on it and just look, and that's moving the sled. That's how quick the sled moves. Or sometimes I use my foot. And so the way we brake, I'm sure that's our next question, is that we don't have a bobsled that brakes. We actually use our foot at the end and we dig it into the ice, and that's how we brake.
Wow.
So the way we steer is with our shoulders, with our eyes, with our feet, and then we brake with our toes into the ice at the end. And it's coming to you very fast. The corners are it's not smooth, it's very sharp. So you have to be extremely focused.
This is a lot of training. How is your training like when you're, preparing for some of these games, and what are your thought process? Because this looks like intelligence, physical, emotional, everything all together.
There's a lot involved, but in the summer, we focus on, I still get to do my track and field workouts. So
Okay.
in the summer, I focus on weightlifting and I focus on sprinting because that's important for the first 50 meters. There's a lot of races that I won within that 50 meters. So that's what I do. And then in the summer, I travel to where the ice is. You know, we have somewhere I live, but there's a lot across the world. We travel to those areas and you practice on the ice. And, you know, also another thing to mention too is like it's G-force, like an airplane that you feel. When I'm sliding, the reason why I'm on the walls is because there's like 5, 6 Gs. What that means is that 5 or 6 of your best friends are sitting on top of you. That's the pressure that I feel when you're steering the sled. So there's a lot training involved. It's not just booga, 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 just like
Yeah.
running and sprinting. There's a lot like
But do
focus.
the ice have an effect on you when you're moving? Don't you get too cold or something?
Yeah, we sometimes rate in -25 Celsius. And the thing that we wear is very thin. You know, it's almost like a lycra suit. But you're so focused, the adrenaline is like
It's
rush.
very hot.
It's very, so you feel, yeah, it's a different feeling. But obviously when I'm done sliding, I try to go inside. But we also warm up outside in snow. We don't have a track that we warm up. So you're warming up in the cold before you go.
Oh my God. Anyway, but representing, I think we had one question. Representing Ghana as the first skeleton athlete from Africa in 2018 Winter Olympics must have been a proud moment for you. I mean, as a Ghanaian, as an African, everybody was excited. But what did it mean to you to achieve this feat?
I think for me, there's a lot of feelings that went through. But let me talk about the first time I walked into the Olympic Stadium.
Okay.
I had the opportunity to be the flag bearer. Obviously, I was the only Ghanaian, so that made it easy. So
Yeah.
I was the flag bearer. But to be able to walk into this stadium with thousands of people and to be able to wave the flag that my ancestors fought for, that shed blood for and tears for, it was a very special moment for me at that young age to be able to make my country proud and the kids that look up to me or think that nothing is possible. That was the first thing. And then obviously the second thing was after 17 years dreaming of becoming an Olympian, that I finally made that come true was another special moment for me as well. And obviously my family and my 9-month-old daughter back then being in the stadium watching me was another special. Those are some 3 special moments for me, being able to represent my country at the Olympics in 2018.
I think that might have also inspired you for your foundation as well.
Yeah, the Hope of Being Foundation all started about 2022
Okay.
when my wife and I realized that me representing my country, but also Africa, really, really changed a lot. We started to create like some form of a community with people that looked up to me, but also said, man, if he can do this, I can do anything.
Yeah.
And so we realized what that means for so many people around the world, and specifically in Africa. So we said, you know what, let's do the Hope of Being. The name all comes from me being the first Black person in Africa to represent 1.4 billion people and to show what magnitude that is and what that could mean. So the Hope of Being is all about encouraging, engaging, and empowering 1 billion lives in underserved communities to showcase them, to basically to dream on. To show them that it's possible. And so our theory of change all has to do with, like, we believe that, you know, hope and motivation is very essential for self-actualization. And so what we do is through sports mentored programs and developing essential skills, through that we actually are fostering an environment for the youth to be able to really utilize their inherent power to realize their dreams and also to become transformative leaders in the society.
All right, I've seen that you've gone to a number of schools, engaging students as well. Is that some parts of the foundation, and what other things would you be doing?
Yes, so the foundation has 3 phases. The first phase, we go mostly to schools because that's where we can find the kids.
Okay.
And what we do in the schools is the first program is what we call a Power Resilience Workshop. We go into schools and all we do is we actually encourage kids through film, through the comic book of my film Black Ice.
Yeah,
we
I'm
utilize
gonna
that film to motivate them, to show them that, you know, what's possible. And it's really to kind of get out of them, to start having them start dreaming. Because how many of these kids in Ghana, somebody has asked them, what's your dream? When you get old, you know, you're thinking about the food your parents are thinking about food for the next day. They're thinking about their jobs. And so having somebody tell them like, hey, what is your goal? What do you want to become? And to kind of really encourage, inspire them through that classroom program workshop is what we do. We utilize principles like dare to dream, come out of your comfort zone, work hard, believe in yourself, never give up. That's what we do in the one-day workshop.
Okay.
The second phase is an after-school program that we select some of these youth, some of these kids, and we go deeper into what we have done the first day. So now maybe 1 week we are learning about SMART goals, how to set SMART goals. It has to be specific, measurable, achievable, right? Time-bound. And then the second week we learn about growth mindset, teaching them what it means to have growth mindset, to be curious, to try different things. And then maybe the fourth week we're learning about emotional regulations. How do you react? How do you respond versus react when things happen to you along your journey? Because things are going to happen, right? How do you respond to them? And then the fourth week, we talk about perseverance. We utilize other heroes, other people that have gone through moments, that have gone through hardship and broken barriers to showcase them that it is possible. So that's the second phase. The third phase is we're hoping to get them closer to their goals and dreams by having them do, for example, a day shadowing with, if they want to become a teacher or nurse, or they want to become like you, doing interviews, they can maybe shadow you and see what that looks like. Imagine a kid being 14 or 16 years old and watching you do what you do that he or she wants to become. So that's the third phase, to kind of get them to shadow, do some internships. So that's what we do with the foundation.
Right. And this funding for this particular one is totally from you?
It's totally from my own pocket, my wife's pocket. We are hoping to get more partners involved, but I think it's always important to showcase yourself, to showcase that you really want to do this, that you're passionate about this. And we just recently have a company called On, which is the Swiss sports brand, that have said, hey, we love what you're doing. We want to see what else we can do with you, and they're supporting us here. But we're also here on the trip with the Swiss ambassador, with the Swiss embassy. It's nothing financial with the Swiss embassy. It's strictly a partnership whereby they are on the ground and they can help us find communities, schools where they feel like the hope of a billion could be valuable.
But are you looking forward to starting an academy, maybe a sprint or a skeleton academy for Ghanaians? I mean, since maybe Kumasi, where you're from.
We do have a Bobs and Skeleton Federation since 2017, so we have one.
All right.
The challenge that we have seen is that we have been doing this for many years. Almost every 3 months, we go to different schools. We're building wooden sleds here in Ghana, and we showcase them the sport and just get them curious and interested. The sport is extremely expensive. And so in order for us to get more people from Ghana to actually go and compete, there's more support needed. And I'm the type of person that I don't want to make promises that we can't keep. So for now, it's more of a clinic introduction, and we hope to get partners that are willing to support us to eventually train athletes that can go and compete in China, in Russia, in USA when the cold months come, because we have received thousands of people that have said after 2018 that they want. I mean, today I received one as well. Continuously, people that really want to do it, but it's difficult, it's challenging. Even for myself, to get to the level that I am, it has not been easy. So we are hoping to do more, and we are willing to do more if we get more support. But we're not just relying on government or relying just on companies. We're doing the best that we can with what we have.
When you started a Hope for a Billion Foundation, and then it looks like you're doing a lot, for us, maybe it's a sign that you want to retire, so you want to maybe end with a legacy. Is that it?
Well, I've always had the idea that I want to have a foundation since 2012, but I never knew exactly what I want to have. I didn't want to just be an athlete who retires and then starts something. I really wanted to start something while I'm also doing, to really show that I'm also going through the process as well. So that's why I started Hope of Being in 2022. However, after 2018, 2022, and then 2026, I'm not getting younger, and I want to basically give back as well. So in that process, it's helping me to push me through my foundation as well. But the goal is to retire after the 2026 Olympic Games. And this is the first place I'm saying that here, Pulse, because nobody has ever heard that before.
Okay.
But
using it as a headline.
So breaking news. I definitely want to retire. I want to do more. I want to give back more. I want to spend my time more with the youth and really build that legacy of giving back and teaching kids about resilience. And so that's my goal after 2026.
All right. Thank you so much.